Hi, it's day 3, episode 3 of the Dahlia Dungaree dress, and I've come outside to spend half an hour just doing a little bit more in bringing this dress together. We're nearly there. It might feel like we've got lots of pieces, but honestly, it's not going to take long now. I am going to take a little bit slower so that it feels like you're receiving this in a bit more bite size. But honestly, this dress just hasn't taken long to make at all. Got my cup of tea. It's cold. It's always cold at the minute, isn't it? My heating's on, but I've been working indoors all day, and I'm not going to lie, I have my blanket and I have my hot water bottle, but I'm not really getting any warmer. I guess that's January weather for you though. So what I'm wearing today, I think we're familiar with the Ilford by now, aren't we? Can't get enough of it, honestly. It is a staple, but it truly is that warm for me. Under it today, I'm actually wearing, let me just put my cuppa down. I'm wearing a jumper. Gosh, I made this before the pandemic now. And it was one that I'd been looking at for ages, thinking, could I make it? I don't know. And I've made a few of these since, to be honest. Not to say that there's not adjustments I wouldn't make. But this is the Julia sweatshirt. It's got a big collar. Sometimes I just let it sit up like that. Sometimes I fold it over. But today it's definitely just about leaving it up and letting it float where it wants to give me a bit more warmth. It's actually very wide and very boxy. And down here we've got 2 little pockets that just sort of float around in there. Like I say, it's a wide jumper. Maybe not the most flattering, but I am warm. And it's got incredibly long, deep cuffs on it, which are very fitted to my arms. And then I've got my ginger jeans on as normal. Let's catch up where we're at then. We've made the skirt, we've made the bibs, we've made the ties, we've made the belt loops. We just got to put it all together. We got our ingredients. We just need to get out our mixing bowl, mash them all up and stick them in the proverbial oven. I'm not good at baking though, so I'm not going to do that. So the thing that I plan to do today with you, I am going to sew the front of the skirt to the back of the skirt. Easy, straight lines. Beware though, we are only going to sew these from where the pocket opens down. So look at my pins, look at the direction I've pinned them in. Look at that pin there, it's gone in a different direction. I always do that kind of thing. It's like a warning call. Why has it changed direction? And it alerts me something's changed. It means I'm going to start sewing there. Let me show you. That's where the pocket is. And I'm going to sew all the way down. That's so that this can fold forward and I can insert all of the bibs on the front and the back. So I'm going to sew that both down on both sides. Nice straight stitching. I'm going to go to my back panel pieces. I'm going to get my remaining last 2 long straps and I'm just going to sew them in, base them in just down here, working 1 centimetre in from the bottom, which is our seam allowance, so that can get sewn in later on and I won't see all of that. So I'm going to tack that in. When I've done that bit, I'm then going to go ahead and start putting these back bibs into the skirt and the front bib into the skirt. So let's get cracking. Okay, so I've got my skirt here and I'm just going to work on one of these edges. Like I say, it's a 1 centimetre seam allowance. And I'm going to start just on this marking where I put my horizontal pin. So I'm just going to start a little bit ahead of that, needle down, and I'm going to reverse back to that pin. And then we're going to work our way forward, removing those pins as we go. Just working our way down to the bottom. And then I will flip that over and I will do the same on the other side. Now, one thing I am going to have to think about is how I'm going to finish these edges, but I'm just going to delay my thinking until all of this is constructed, because temptation is to overlock all of this straight away all the way down, but of course we can't really do that unless I open that up like this Sorry, I'm a bit clumsy there. But I could run it through the overlocker, do one side and then do the other. But I'm just going to hang fire until I've got a little bit further in the process to see whether I can still sew all the way down with the overlocker to hold it in place. So I'm going to do the other side in just a moment. But I'm going to jump ahead to these two pieces here. Like I mentioned, these two back panel pieces where I'm going to now baste in these straps. Basting means it's a temporary stitch. So within the 1 centimetre seam allowance, I'm just going to sew down there. No need to reverse stitch or anything like that. It's just a case of we want to get rid of these pins. So straight across, needle up, and move on straight to the next one. And then that's another step done. There we go. Let's move on to the next stage. So we're back at the bench and I'm just going to talk you through exactly what you're now looking at here. So here is the skirt piece and it's all right side facing out. Okay, this is the back panel and laid down against the deck is the front panel. So it's the back panel that we're now looking at and considering. I've laid down the two back panels that we've done. And these are the edges that we put the binding on. And I'm putting them next to each other, just like that. And we're going to be transferring those to join here. So as you look at it, they're just going to be pinched together. But of course, they need to be flipped over so that they're right side to right side. So what I want to do is find the centre point of this back skirt now. Now, this isn't in the instructions, but this is the way that I would choose to do it. We've got this pleat mark here and this pleat mark here. I would, trying to not get my hands in the way, fold that over so this pleated edge meets that pleated edge. And then I would finger press inside to give me a really neat, crisp, pinchy point there. Now you can use a pin, but I'm just going to get some little snips and I'm going to take out the smallest triangle there. So I've got a really clear indication of where everything's going to meet up. So there's my little triangle just there. So if I look at the right hand panel piece first, I'm going to flip it over now. So it's raw edges to raw edges. And I'm going to take this furthest corner just here and line it up with half of the triangle that I've removed. And now I'm going to try and do this so I've not got hands in the way. It's very difficult. Now I'm just going to square it all up and pin it in place. Just need to be mindful of the pleats underneath. We don't want to distort them. I want them to stay nice and flat. So I'm using my fingers underneath to make sure that nothing becomes ruched, I suppose. Ruched, that's a good word. I have done something quite unusual for me today and I brought a candle into my room. It is a lavender and white ginger. Thought it might, I don't know, simulate a feeling of warmth. It is not working. I don't feel any warmer for it. So we're nearly at the end now. Oh, those pins from before. Now these tails are going to get in the way. So just move them out of the way. And yeah, just as expected, the edge of the back panel actually meets the edge of that skirt piece. We've got that absolutely spot on, which is marvellous. If your back panel piece is a little bit longer, you can try and ease it into position. Just manipulate those fingers to get it to all fit. But to be honest, if you go over the edge by half a centimetre or anything like that, I shouldn't worry. You can just trim off any excess later on. So that half's pinned into place, and now all I need to do is do the same with the second piece. So just flip it over, make sure that the corner is going right into that V that I cut out, and I'm really making sure that these long edges are butted right to one another. And when I'm happy with that, I'm going to grab some pins again. Apologies for my hands. Put it is important that I get this bit right. And I'm just going to work my way along again to pin that in place. And then I'm going to sew at my 1 centimetre seam allowance. So let's just assess that piece because I think it's really starting to bring everything to life now. So this is now the back of the dress. This is the skirt all down here with those beautiful darts. That's the central point just there that we talked about, that we cut our little V into. And you can see how that is all lined up now. That's one of the back panels. And on the side here, we've got this side strap coming out. I'm starting to visualize a little bit more about how this is going to come together. And from our careful pinning, we can see that they are beautifully straight and aligned. So we will have seam allowances down here to tidy up and finish. But I'm thinking, don't quote me on this, but by the time we put in this front panel, we're going to start sewing the sides in together and then sewing and finishing off all of the insides as well. So let's go to the next step, which will be sewing in the front bib. So all I'm going to do now is flip my skirt over. So now everything's still right side up on the table, but now we've got the right side of the skirt looking upwards at us. I'm going to do the same as what I did before, and I'm going to take the outside part of the pleat and I'm going to fold them over so they meet one another. And then on the inside, I'm going to give a little finger press and take a little snip out. So I've got a really clear central point to align everything up to. Going to grab my front bib piece, and this time I need to fold that right side together and go to that bottom raw edge just here, give that a finger press and take a little notch out. Hopefully this is all making perfect sense to you. To simulate where we want to be as an end result, the bib needs to finish here at the top of the dress. In order to do that, we lay it over so it's right side to right side. We're then going to take the V out of the bib and match it up to the V of the skirt. When we've matched that up, we're then going to pop in a pin to secure that in place. And as before, we're going to work our way along, pinning all of the raw edges together until it reaches the side seam. When that's in place, we're going to sew it all along. Now on mine, you can see I've got this bit of extra fabric just here. Don't worry, I'll just cut that off afterwards. So that's our next step. So my friends, Jack the Ripper put in a little appearance when I did the front seam. So, where was I? Husband walked in there, not to worry. Jack the Ripper came out. When I sewed in the front bib, I had quite a shortage on one end. So I pulled the whole thing back out again and I did a bit of a different method. So, but it's good to problem solve, isn't it? So yeah, Jack the Ripper came out, took the whole thing to pieces, and I went back to that central point just here. And what I did this time is I pinned from one end and then went to the machine. As I went to the machine, if I show you on the inside, I held down the bib and pulled it to the edge like that tight and sewed. I then flipped it over and went back to the centre seam, pulled the bib to the edge, pulled it tight and sewed it in. And now it fits. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tidy up some edges. So the front bib, I'm going to go in with the overlocker and whip straight across. I'm then going to go to the back and I'm going to finish all those edges off there. So let's head over to the machine. I'm pulling in these side straps so they're in the middle. And we've got to be careful not to cut those off. It's going to be fine. Don't let it worry you. I can feel them up here and I can feel that they're away from the cutting line. And I'm just going to let the machine start pulling this through. I'm not really wanting to take any of the edge off. I just want it to tidy it up. Really slowly working my way along. And I'm just feeling underneath to make sure all of my beautiful fabric is nicely out of the way and not getting caught up. Approaching the middle, and we want to make sure this isn't manipulated out of position. So I'm just going to make sure that's all nice and flat and together. And carry on working through. So here's my strap. Let's get that out of the way now. Tuck it under. Keep it heading in the right direction. And when we basted it in, and straight off. I'll show you how I finish my threads whilst we are here. Remove those. Okay, so we've got our long chain here, and I'm just going to really gently start to pull it. Really gently. And then I'm going to get a pin. And in here we've got 4 threads, and what you'll find is 2 of them are the loopers and the 2 are the straight needles. We're looking for the straight needles, and actually they're the threads that run really straight down. They're not sort of scalloping out. So if you go to one of those straight threads, grab one of them and gently pull it through, and that's come. When that's happened, we've then got 1 over here and 3 over here. I just tie them into a little knot and push that knot close down towards my finished garment. And then when that's done, snip off any excess. There we go. And I will repeat on the other side. And then when that's done, of course, I'm going to go to that other hemline and sort that out. And then we've got really tidy inside hem, but I am going to give that a quick press down towards the skirt. So our dress is pretty much constructed now. Everything's been put together, but we've just now got these areas from the top of the pocket up to the armpit that we need to sew in. Now I'm going to do this in one particular way. However, do you remember back in video 1 I said that I should have not sewn this line down at this point, and I thought that's because we were going to sew it all in one go, which still remains. However, when I join these 2 edges together, I need to sew them right side to right side, stitch them down and then overlock them all the way down the skirt to finish it off. Now what would have been quite beautiful is if I had opened up all of that facing. Let me unpin this a bit further. Open up all of the facing on both sides, pin those together and then sewn all the way down. Then when that folded under like that, when it had been overlocked, you wouldn't see any of that overlock stitching just here. Now that's a minor detail, so I'm not going to be worrying myself about it. I'm not going to be unpicking anything for this exercise, but I just wanted to show you that that would have given an even better finish. So to bring these 2 pieces together, these pieces here, and to sew in this belt now, we need to get the dress inside out again. So let's do that. And when this is sewn in, I think we will call it a day for today. So tuck that belt in, go to the very top edge just here, line those edges up as neatly as we can, and let's start pinning.